I can only tell you my own story of how I got sick. It's important for you as a young trans person to experiment with all of your identity choices. The only reason I believe in mental health care is so that you can talk about it to somebody who has an objective opinion and can actually maybe give you thought to think about that your friends cannot.
Всем привет на моем канале! В этот раз я хочу поделиться с вами своим интервью с Баком Энджелом. Бак Энджел – американский порноактер. Порноактер, который транс-мужчина, не делавший нижней операции. Бак начал свой переход 23 года назад. Тогда не было интернета, тогда практически не было никакой информации о трансгендерности, о том, как делать переход, как достать гормоны. Как многие транслюди, Бак испытывал очень сильную гендерную дисфорию и чуть не покончил жизнь самоубийством. Но он нашел возможность сделать переход, и теперь, 23 года спустя, он говорит о себе, что он мужчина с вагиной, и он очень гордится своей жизнью, своим телом и делится этим с людьми на своем инстаграме. Итак, вот интервью с Баком, в котором он отвечает на 3 самых важных, на мой взгляд, вопроса, потому что их задают постоянно, снова и снова, а именно, сколько живут трансгендеры, какое у них здоровье, насколько часто люди думают, что они совершили ошибку сделать переход и делают Detransition, или просто сожалеют о том, что сделали переход. И третье, стоит ли так много давать информации, так часто рассказывать о трансгендерности нашим детям, испортит ли это наших детей?
So your first question is about life expectancy.
And health, yes.
This is a great question because we don't have a lot of research for trans men and trans women, but specifically trans men on the life expectancy and health. I can only tell you my own story of how I got sick because I used testosterone. And I think I was about 18 or so years on testosterone, and I started to have weird feelings after I had sex in my vagina. It's and cramping in my area. You know, like how you have period cramps, like that kind of feeling, you know, like crampy. So I was concerned, and I went to the gynecologist. Nobody could understand what was happening. They just blew me off like, it's okay, or, you know, don't worry, or maybe it's just gonna go away. Anyway, 3 years of that pain, which was excruciating, comes to find out, well, I passed out one day on the floor, I became septic. What happened was I got an infection because my uterus and my cervix fused together, which what we know today is called atrophy. And what atrophy is when estrogen is removed from the vagina, which causes a hardening of the inside layers, and your vagina needs estrogen in order to function properly. But we're not talking about this, and we sure as hell weren't talking about it when I started taking testosterone. Bottom line is, if the doctors would have given me estrogen supplements, or what they're giving now is estrogen cream to put inside of your vagina, which we can talk more about that. I'm not a fan of that. But if we learn how to understand and regulate our hormonal functioning, this wouldn't happen. So fast forward, I almost died. I got a bad infection. I became septic. And it was the first time these doctors had ever seen the long-term use of testosterone on a female-bodied man. Really, I had genetically female body. So we, you know, that's another thing we need to talk about. Our bodies are genetically female. Whether or not you want to argue with me or not, you can't argue.
We have the XX chromosomes, we have these bodies, and that's it's absolutely normal. It's normal for us. It's our reality.
Yes.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, we deny that. We tell each other, oh, we were just born in the wrong body. Like, no, well, you got to take care of that body. It will always be it will always be that. So anyway, they didn't know how to work with it, blah, blah, blah. They had to take out my whole reproductive system. It was horrible. So fast forward to today, we should never be having these problems, yet we are. We're having these problems. This is one of the major problems I'm dealing with a lot of you youngsters at telling me you're having cramps after you have sex or it hurts. And it's probably atrophy because you're probably not taking any kind of estrogen supplement. So what I did is I created a website. So we created a pamphlet for you, and you can read. And in fact, maybe you can help me put it in Russian.
I wanted to suggest to do that. Exactly.
Fantastic.
Because there is an English one and a Spanish one, but the Russian one wouldn't harm.
They need to know the information to go to the doctor, and just because the doctor doesn't know. So we need to inform and educate our doctors.
What I keep saying is, if you keep your organs, go to a gynecologist regularly. Just get them checked, right?
Yeah.
So endocrinologist, get this ultrasounds and get
ultrasound.
blood tests.
That's the key. Ultrasound, not just a pap smear. A pap smear, when they go through your vagina to your cervix, you're not seeing your uterus. And that's that's why you need to have a scan so they can see your uterus. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think there could be any other issues we should speak about? Because Russian-speaking people come to me and say hormones is an evil. If you take hormones, you will shorten the life. You will probably live 20 years. And I'm saying, look at Bak. At least he's here. He's alive.
I'm healthy.
Good
I'm
health.
pretty healthy. Well, I'm going to tell those people, there's no data. There's no data on that at all. There's none, because there's not a lot of old trans people like me. There isn't. So we don't know the life expectancy, number one. Number two, most of the trans men before me who had voices and who were around, most of them died of stuff like cancer or HIV or things that just anybody would get. It has nothing to do with being trans. So so you cannot prove that, number one. Number two, what I will say is this: I'm fucking healthy. And that's because I take care of myself. I do not just put any hormones in my body. I do not get black market hormones. I go to the doctor. I eat right. I exercise. I do all the things every human being should do.
Yes,
and because of that, 23 years on testosterone, the only problem I've had is atrophy of my vagina that could have been prevented if we had the data we are talking about today. So you kids won't have this problem. You won't have this problem because you now have the tools to prevent this.
Yeah, this is really a good piece of advice. Thank you.
Yeah, you can't say that. We don't know life expectancy. That's ridiculous behavior. And that's false information, again, that people love to put out in this community. You don't know facts. Facts are everything. I'm a fact.
Yes, absolutely. You are living proof, and I wish you health, and I hope you will live until you're 120 or how long you want to live.
No.
How about regrets? What do you think about this topic? Do you think this is somebody should think about this and say, oh, I don't know what's going to happen with me in 5 years, so maybe I shouldn't look into this topic at all, so why do this? Maybe later I will regret, and then there is no way back.
Right.
And transition, I'm not going to become a woman I was, right?
Yeah. Right.
Scary a little bit.
Very. It's
What's
very
scary
scary.
for me?
It should. Okay, here we go. Kids, it should be scary.
Yeah.
You should have a little fear if you are doing medical transitioning. Now, if you're just going to transition without hormones and surgery, that's a different mindset. But I'm speaking to you kids who want to actually physically transition from a female to a male using testosterone and surgery. You better have a little fear, and you better have a little concern about the future of yourself. And are you making the right choice? I can't tell you whether or not you're making the right choice.
Nobody can.
Yeah, exactly. And regrets for me, none. Zero.
No.
The only regret I have, I say, is I wished I could have done it earlier. But that's more like I wish. Other than that, none. Zero. It changed my life beyond anything I could have ever imagined. That's the way you need to feel with your transition.
Yeah.
That's it.
You are speaking like from my heart. Like I feel absolutely the same. Really. And it's really so great that I meet so many people also who feel just the same. And
in the beginning, when I started finding out about this topic, I was so surprised that people I don't know, who are really far away, who are somewhere in the United States, for me is far away, speak about their lives. And for me, it's like I hear about myself.
Yes.
How could that be?
Yes.
This is like magic. And it makes me like feel that we are so many and that we are not alone. There are parents out there who are afraid that we are giving ideas to their poor children who would otherwise never come to the stupid idea to change their sex, for example. Like that is some kind of horrible propaganda. We are spreading out. The West, the horrible West, the US and the Europe where I am, are spreading this horrible information.
I'm going to tell you, it's exactly the way it was when the gay community came out in the 80s. People were like, oh, propaganda, you're trying to make everybody gay.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're just trying to celebrate our own space.
Yeah.
But people said the same thing about gay people. And then they were trying to lure children to be homosexual. Any marginalized community that is going to start to grow, the trans community, at such a rate, it is gonna make people go, whoa, wait a minute. Why is this happening so fast? I totally understand the concern. I will tell you honestly, I understand the concern of people out there, though it's an invalid concern. That's what we need to talk about. Of course they're fearful. They think we're like indoctrinating children to become trans kids. It's just the information is there for these kids when we didn't have the information. More kids would have changed in my day if we would have talked about it. So that's what the world needs to see. The world needs to see not only that it's real and it's valid, it's why I'm visible, because when they see me, they see their children. So they say, hey, Buck made it. He's 56. He's very successful. My child can do that too.
Yeah.
So really, it's the problem is that those people are saying that out of fear, and we don't need to take that on. They're not necessarily saying you're a bunch of idiots and fuck. They're basically just saying we don't understand and we're fearful. How can we teach the world that they don't need to be fearful and that this is very important? That's our job.
Exactly. We have to understand where they come from, and they're coming from a space of not knowing this, right? This is not the world they were born into. That's what they think. So actually and we just have to explain to them what it means and that it's not like something to be fearful of.
Exactly. With anything, with homosexuality, with bisexuality, with anything in the world that is not white, straight, man,
heterosexual.
We have to explain it.
Yes.
Yeah. But our community tends to be very victim-y. We tend to love to victimize ourselves. We love to say, the world hates us. I'm going to say it again. The world doesn't hate you. The world loves me. I travel everywhere. People love me. Why? Because I'm authentic. And I don't care what people think about me. And you cannot care about what others think about you. You only need to care about your own self. That's it.
You're very motivating. Thank you. This is great. And what would you answer to somebody who asks, how about those kids who just pretend that they are trans because it's a trend for some reason, for some people? How do you not make them confused and not know? How do they know they are not transgender?
Good point. So this is kind of what happens when I start to talk about this, where the community divides on me and they call me transphobic and they call me, misogynist. They call me all kinds of names because this is what I believe. Whether or not you agree with me or not, it doesn't matter. It's what I believe. So being a person who transitioned from a female to male, I'm a transsexual person. I had a sex change. I do not live as a trans person. I live as a man. This is a transsexual person, somebody who wants to actually have a sex change. We now have a term called transgender. Great. That transgender word is an umbrella term. It is not a specific terminology. We know this. It encompasses a bunch of different identities. That said, that particular space of the transgender umbrella gives people the space to find where they need to be without necessarily medically transitioning. It is why I specifically say we need to separate these two, because when we put everything under trans, it's confusing not only for me, but for you. Because how you are, if you are gender non-conforming, my friend, let's say you're gender non-conforming, okay? And I'm a transsexual man, but we're underneath the transgender umbrella. How are we not separated? We're not trans, you're not trans like I am. You understand my point?
Yeah, I guess.
This is very confusing for people. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because how can we all call ourselves trans when we're not all the same? How?
Yeah. Oh well, but so you are saying that people who are not transitioning but finding it interesting to cross-dress and wear makeup, you're finding it difficult that they are under the same umbrella term, let's say, as us.
Well, what I find difficult is that they are considered the same as me when they're not the same as me. We have totally different paths. If me and you are called transgender, how do we determine what transgender is? It becomes an umbrella term. That is dangerous because now we're not specifically identifying each and every one of our needs within the umbrella. We're just saying we're all trans. That, to me, I personally, it's only my personal opinion, find that to be detrimental and dangerous to kids who actually want to have a sex change from a female to a male, because now they are lost under the umbrella. And I am not the same. I am not the same as a gender non-conforming person. I am not. I live in the binary. That's distinguishing these things are important for each and every one of these people who want to do transition. And it is not in any way saying that they don't exist. They totally exist. They exist.
I see your point. I see your point. Just not sure about the let's say people who don't really know if they should transition or if they think they should just because they like to cross-dress. And then their parents would attack, let's say me or you, saying, oh, because you are so present, my child came to the idea to cross-dress and maybe do more. Do you think there is a threat?
No, that's just people being fearful and accusing other people because they don't know that people can actually make their own choice.
Exactly, they don't trust their kids. That's what I want to say.
Exactly. Kids are smart. Kids are smart today. That's why it's important, and I say it all the time. It's important for you to be under that transgender umbrella. It's important for you as a young trans person to experiment with all of your identity choices until you decide, actually, no, I'm a transsexual and I want to have a sex change. That's why it's very important that we distinguish between medical transitioning and identity, like you're right, transitioning. Those are two different things. They're not the same.
I'm not sure how easy it is in the States, but in Germany, it's really difficult to get the medical transition. You have to prove that you really want this. You have to be 18 months on, live in this role, in the men's role, let's say, in my case, and or in our case, and also have a psychologist. And then you need two separate psychiatrists who confirm that you are transsexual. It's actually also being discussed as being too strict.
It's gatekeeping. That's gatekeeping.
That's
gatekeeping. 100%. But let me tell you, as an old school kind of guy, I do believe in guidelines. I believe that if you are going to medically transition, I think you need to have some stability. And what I mean by that is some guidelines. Because what the guidelines do, and they're only implemented for your safety. They're not there because people want to tell you not to do it. It's because people want to make sure. Now, I do think some stuff is a little too stringent, but when I transitioned, I had to do the same thing. I had to go to a therapist for over a year. I had to dress like Buck and be Buck, even though I look like a woman. I had to live that. it was 100% to make sure I was making the right choice.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that's the way it works in Germany. In Russia, it's easier right now. They just go and just talk for 3 days with a psychologist, and basically they can say whatever they want, and they get the they get their paper.
Their hormones. It's a very difficult space to talk about because some people will say, I believe in gatekeeping. I don't believe in gatekeeping. What I believe in is taking your time to realize this is making the right choice and not jump in it. I'm not saying that the therapist should ever be able to tell you yes or no. The only reason I believe in mental health care is so that you can talk about it to somebody who has an objective opinion and can actually maybe give you thought to think about that your friends cannot. And that's why I believe in mental health care.
That's what I'm trying to do too. I'm not a psychologist, but I will start a life coaching course next month for a year. And that's what I do. I tell people they can come to me and talk to me, and I learn to ask right questions that people find their answers within themselves. So I would never tell anybody to do something or to not do something, right?
Я надеюсь, это интервью было для вас информативным и интересным. Прежде чем провести интервью, я спросил вас, есть ли у вас вопросы к Баку. Вы их задали, и ответы на них вы получите во второй части нашего интервью. Если вам понравилось это видео, поставьте лайк, напишите комментарий, что именно вам понравилось, чего вам не хватило, и, конечно, подписывайтесь на канал, если вы хотите еще такого рода видео. Пока!